everyone, what's up? Major announcements have been made in recent days about many beloved franchises, including Game of Thrones and Harry Potter, but today I'm going to start by going over the ones made during the Star Wars celebration that are so unbelievable that I just had to make a video about it. Some of them were so ridiculous you wouldn't have believed Disney and Lucasfilm were capable of going the way they've decided to go with the Star Wars franchise in the foreseeable future. It appears like they've learned absolutely nothing from their previous failures of the past few years. They are repeating the same exact mistakes, expecting different results. These announcements during the Star Wars celebration from London, including the announcement of 3 new Star Wars movies and 4 key Disney Plus shows, as well as the reveal of the much-anticipated Ahsoka trailer that many fans have been hyped about. And of course, the biggest one was the announcement of a new Star Wars movie starring Daisy Ridley, who will return to her role of Rey Skywalker, or more accurately, Rey Palpatine, in a new movie set 15 years after the events of the Rise of Skywalker. While not confirmed, it appears that it may even become a full trilogy, depending on the performance of the first one, which says a lot since they have clearly no confidence enough to greenlight a full trilogy carried by her character. With these latest announcements, for me, as a casual fan, it's obvious. Star Wars as a franchise is effectively almost buried and done for. There's no going back. Despite years of speculation and rumors among fans, Kathleen Kennedy isn't going anywhere anytime soon. She's going to preside over the new project, starting with the new trilogy of movies. Each movie will be set in a different new era created or established by Disney that is far detached from the canonical George Lucas created eras that have been the core of the franchise for decades. The first movie will be based on a period of 25,000 years before the original Star Wars trilogy, while the second movie will be set in what could only be considered as the more present timeline of the Disney Plus shows that is supposed to be the conclusion to The Mandalorian and the upcoming Ahsoka series, as well as the other connected Disney Plus shows. That conclusion will be helmed by Dave Filoni, while the other film about the origin of the Jedi will be helmed by James Mangold. The new Ahsoka show, together with all of the other Disney Plus Star Wars shows, all lead to that second movie that's supposed to wrap the entirety of the Disney Plus show's timeline and storylines that are set in the period after Return of the Jedi and before The Force Awakens, the period of the New Republic. It's likely Ahsoka will star as the main hero, surrounded by the other Star Wars Disney Plus characters, like Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, Boba Fett, Grogu, and others, that were all featured in these shows, and they will all apparently confront Thrawn in a movie that will adapt the Heir to the Empire storyline from the expanded universe that since became known as Legends, after Disney had decided to purchase Star Wars and establish their own timeline, disregarding the canonical continuation to the original trilogy, with Luke Skywalker as the main character and the hero that he was for the franchise for decades and decades. This movie will take elements from these novels, but in the new Disney-approved and constructed canon that frankly shows laziness and lack of creativity. The canon that was discarded all these years ago now serves them as their main source of inspiration, because they are incapable of creating anything new and interesting on their own. How can it not be considered anything but a lazy appropriation of the expanded universe material, but in a completely different context to how it was in the novels? The Ahsoka show trailer that was shown during the celebration was rather bland and badly made. It included a repeat of a corridor scene that we've seen before, but with a horrible choreography and an old man that we're supposed to understand is the new main antagonist called Baylon. He's not threatening in the least. Nothing about him stands out. The trailer was just underwhelming. The CGI, the production quality, the direction, the acting and delivery of lines were robotic, and they felt like they were created by AI. The overall presentation looks like the exact continuation of the latest season of The Mandalorian, which is the worst season of the series that lost 40% viewership from the end of season 2 for its premiere audience. It's also the least viewed and the worst rated season so far. The trailer is essentially a female-centered trailer with almost no major male characters presented on the hero's side. It's the ultimate visual representation of Kathleen Kennedy's decade-long agenda as the head of Lucasfilm. It seems like, once again, they'll take bits and pieces from the expanded universe and will repurpose it to serve the Ahsoka character on the show instead of it being a part of what should have been Luke's own story post-Return of the Jedi. It truly feels like 2019 again, and not in a good way, as if the past 4 years didn't exist, and specifically as if they learned nothing at all from the sequel trilogy and from their own failures.
Who would like to meet the Jedi Master? Okay, come on out. Whoa, whoa!
Fade in.
You don't have to be a genius to notice the trajectory of the franchise under Kathleen Kennedy, a despised figure among many of the fans, someone whose latest videos were ratioed negatively and barely got any reaction when she came to the stage during the celebration days. She is not a popular figure among fans, and her latest comments raised more than a few eyebrows after denying some of the announcements her own company has made when it came to future projects that seemingly will never be realized.
So I'm thinking about kind of projects like Rogue Squadron and Kevin Feige's project. So could those still see the light of day?
Kevin Feige's project was something announced in the press, or I suppose fandom, but there was nothing ever got developed.
Right.
We never discussed an idea. We did, as everybody knows, Kevin's a huge Star Wars fan. And, if he did come up with something, I would be all ears, but that's never really happened. So it's not an abandoned project. It just didn't happen.
That's right. With the close of the Skywalker saga, Kevin Feige is set to co-produce an upcoming Star Wars movie with Kathleen Kennedy in a new era of Star Wars storytelling.
Her long-term plans are not something that will appeal to the vast majority of the fans who carried it financially for decades and who were the main target audience Star Wars has always appealed to the most. She openly admitted to her plans to make Star Wars revolve more around the female characters, as described in a recent Yahoo article. But who is the target audience? After all, many female fans would like to see strong male characters front and center, but that doesn't sit well with Kennedy's own delusional ideology and personal self-inserts. Andor was a perfect balanced show, but an anomaly. You had strong female characters, but the male characters were front and center. They were still dominant and competent and pushed most of the narrative forward. They were not pushed to the sideline in favor of female characters, and there was an interesting dynamic between the various characters that can only be described as engaging. The show had depth and great writing that no other Star Wars show had ever had before. But unfortunately, it seems like Andor is an exception that will stand on its own and won't have any effect on the overall quality of the franchise. Now, as far as the new Rey movie is concerned, there's nothing really to explain beyond the cringe fest that is the little that we do know. It seems like the movie will be about her taking on the role of Luke Skywalker as a new Master Jedi, as she's set to re-establish a new Jedi Order and apparently also run a Jedi Academy based on the latest descriptions. That was a role that belonged to Luke's character in the original canon. It seems like they're setting her to succeed where Luke failed in the Disney-approved timeline. However, based on some of the other comments about the other shows and movies, including the overarching themes about the Jedi and the origin of the Force, and even some of Kathleen Kennedy's own comments in the articles, I would be skeptical of even that conclusion. They may leave the Jedi name in place, but I suspect the new established order will be a completely different entity in terms of what it stands for and what it does.
The question that we're going to ask with New Jedi Order and with Rey is, does the galaxy need them anymore? Do they want them back? So there's a lot of food for thought in what we're doing, whether it's in the past, present, or future.
I think their plan is to deconstruct and repurpose the Jedi as an order for their new Disney-approved timeline, going further away from the core aspects of what George had established decades ago in his universe.
Main thing is to protect these characters, make sure that they still continue to live in the way that you created them, and that the universe of Star Wars continues to grow.
What also needs to be considered is what the showrunner of The Acolyte said about what she plans to do with the series. It includes going after the Jedi.
I think people started to get more and more excited about doing something a bit different, and something that was from the villain's perspective, and something that maybe questioned the Jedi Order.
Taking her comments into account and considering the movie that is supposed to be helmed by James Mangold about 25,000 years before the original trilogy, about the origin of the Force and the Jedi Order, to me at least it seems like they are going to deconstruct the whole Jedi concept in their next few shows and movies, just as they did with Luke's character. That's my current prediction. I think that's what Kathleen Kennedy wants to do, and she will likely attempt to do the same with all of the original aspects that were a part of what made Star Wars what it was as a story and as a moral story, as a moral inspiration for many of the fans.
Again, that's what George explored with the dark and light of aspirational ideas.
It's about good and evil in us, as well as our institutions. So. And the idea that some of us think we're really great people, but in the real world we're not. We're terrible people.
Or you can make bad choices.
Well, you make bad choices, but you run your life in a very selfish way, and you think you're doing good when you're actually not. And at the same time, it's how do democracies turn back into dictatorships? Why do people who have the power to have the freedom and everything turn it over to somebody who's going to take it all away from them? It's happened through history forever and ever, and all Star Wars is a way of updating that idea to say, watch out, because there are people out there who don't play by the rules, and if you're not careful, you're going to lose all your freedom. And at the same time, those people who may not play by the rules because they're selfish and greedy turn themselves into evil people who don't care about other people.
Now, please let me know what you think about all of these new announcements in the comments down below. Personally, I have no desire to follow this franchise any longer, but I likely watch the movies and upcoming Ahsoka show just to review them. But really, to me, the franchise and Star Wars as a whole is at its lowest point that it's ever been. Star Wars is not going to get any better as long as Kathleen Kennedy is the head of Lucasfilm and is the one making all of the creative decisions. As long as she's there, there's no hope for the franchise. I do think that from the disaster that is happening with Disney and Lucasfilm, that some positive can come out of it. There are creative minds out there that are trying to create their own stories, their own secondary worlds, something that can truly be made into an alternative. Let me know what you think. Are you going to give the new announcements a chance? Will you go and see the movies or the TV shows? Do you believe there's any hope for the franchise? Or did you just give up like many other fans? And in my next video, I'll be glad to talk about the new Harry Potter TV show announcements by HBO and Warner Brothers, something that does give far more room to optimism. So with that, I do thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for my future videos, and I'll see you soon.
Is there work to be done? More barriers to break? More progress to be made? Yes, of course. But the story of women innovators making movie magic, their story isn't ready to fade out, not even close.